It has been an extraordinary 6 months for Molycorp. Shares of the company, a miner of rare earth minerals, have more than quadrupled since it IPO'd at $14 a share in July. This is the kind of speculative frenzy we're used to seeing in social networking. Not stuff you get out of the ground, stuff like lanthanum used in hybrid car batteries and cerium used to make TV screens and in petroleum refining. But China, the world's dominant supplier of rare earths, is shipping less. And that's putting a lot of pressure on the man running the whole show here in the U.S., Molycorp CEO Mark Smith. We are pleased to welcome Mark back to the Inside Track this morning from Denver, Colorado. Mark, you told my colleague Pim Fox in a radio interview last night that you made double production targets for the end of 2012 to 40,000 tons. How feasible is that? Can you get it done?
Well, we can absolutely get it done, although the decision to do so needs to be made very quickly so that we can take advantage of what we call an opportunity window right now, where if we decide to double production, we can probably do it all within the same time frame that we were going to do the 20,000 ton per year production rate. So very tight window, but we're studying it very hard, and we plan to take it to our board very soon.
Mark, what would prevent the board from making a decision? We hear about China, for example, cutting its rare earth export quota by 35% in the first half of 2011. There is demand that is going to be unmet by Chinese supply. Your company could fill it. Why wouldn't you double your production targets?
Well, number one, we need to make sure that the customer demand is there, and certainly the initial impressions that we've gotten from all of our customers is that there is an absolutely overwhelming demand for these materials. So that really doesn't concern us too much at this point, although the studies are preliminary in nature. The bigger issue is really how do you take a facility, build a brand new facility, and go from zero production to 40,000 tons per year. And that is not an easy thing, because rare earth processing is a very, very complicated process, and it takes a lot of time to get the circuits into steady state production. So we have to do it very, very carefully. We have to do it very methodically and with good chemical engineering principles. Mark,
you said I think you've said, and I understand, that your capital investment plan to get to 20,000 tons is $531 million. If you took it up to 40,000 tons, how much more money would you have to invest?
We're estimating right now that it would be an additional $100 to $200 million, and again, about 12 to 18 months from the point that we make the decision to go in order to accomplish that additional production. So you can see we're right in that sweet spot for a decision to be made, and we do, like I said, we plan to take it to our board in the very near future here and see what they think as well.
Where do you stand on the financing for the 531, and where would you get the additional money to get to 40,000, that $150 to $200 million you just mentioned?
Very good question. At the IPO in July, we raised about $380 million. And then in December, we announced a deal with Sumitomo Corporation out of Japan, where we will receive an additional $130 million, $100 million in equity and $30 million in low-interest debt. So for all practical purposes, the initial project, the 20,000 ton per year project, is funded. The additional money would come from additional joint venture arrangements that we're discussing with various parties as we speak, and we hope to have some very good announcements in that regard probably in the next 3 to 6 months.
So, Mark, do you anticipate still needing to go to the debt markets? You talked about some vendor financing and also some debt capital market capital raising.
Well, we are still certainly looking into those options, and we're working very hard in that regard. I always like to make sure that all the bases are covered, and it's kind of a risk mitigation technique that we use, where we will go after multiple sources of debt or equity financing to make sure that the money is in place and make sure that our shareholders receive the value that they're looking for.
All right, Mark, very good of you to join us here in the Inside Track. We'd love to have you back to talk more about Molycorp and rare earth minerals. It's a big story. It's a big concern for the U.S., particularly for the aerospace and defense industry.